The following podcast may have certain mental health topics that can be found either uncomfortable or triggering to an individual. Please listen with caution or click on another podcast if need be. Hi guys, welcome back to another podcast of Talking with the Stars. If you're listening to this through Spotify, it's good to see you again. It's good to... Hi guys, welcome back to another Talking with the Stars podcast. If you're listening to this through Spotify, it's good to hear from you again. And if you're looking at this through YouTube, it's good to see you again. I am your host Nina, and joined today again, we've got our little buddy Spirit. I'll be honest, starting up this podcast and trying to do this has been a bit of hell because for some reason, nothing's been working. This is the only day where I have a chance to actually record the podcast because all of the other days have been me being busy, and also with this weekend, it's the Smash convention. So I know for a fact that I'm not going to have as high energy during, like, if I do it after the convention, especially on Saturday and stuff. I don't want it to be, like, really rushed, and then I've got to post it on Sunday. So I'm filming this the day before the conventions, which is Friday. And I'll be honest, it's not been going well. I keep stuffing up the recording. The screen actually stopped working at some point. The screen just turned off, so you couldn't even see the very beautiful visuals that I have for Talking with the Stars. Spirit was just on my bed, so he wasn't even in the recording at the start. Also, the software that I use for my voice wasn't even, like, picking me up. The mic was not picking me up, and I was, but we digress, and we are going to continue this podcast. A couple of things I need to state before I actually get onto the topic that we're talking about today. You may, in the middle of the podcast, or hopefully towards the end of the podcast, hear a little, like, alarm or something. That is because I am filming this just before I need to actually go somewhere, so I will be keeping an eye on the time. Hopefully, I want to beat that alarm so that I don't just get cut off in the middle of my topic that I'm trying to say. And the second thing is that I might be talking, I'll try to slow down in speaking, but if you hear me like picking up the pace and things like that, I do sincerely apologize. I just wanted to make sure that I had a podcast out for this week because I am actually really enjoying the podcast so far. And yeah, you'll notice also that the setup is slightly different. I didn't change it. I just don't remember how it originally was because I have to actually set up everything just before I start the podcast. So it's not that I've forgotten, like, it's not that I don't have like an office for this. Even though it looks like I have an office, so you guys can believe I have an office. Is that everything? I think that's everything. A lot's been happening this week. For starters, like, I'm filming this essentially on the last day of Pride Month, so I hope everyone had a great Pride Month. I hope you were able to be your authentic selves this month. Based on what's going around in the world, I don't know essentially what happened, because I'll be honest, this month was probably the most confusing for me. And it hasn't actually been like, it wasn't the same as last year. I feel like last year I was definitely a lot more like open and just, this year I was just as like, you know, bringing my gay to the surface essentially. But also, I don't know if I did as big as what I would do last year. I wore like my DVA foundation pin for the whole month, but that was essentially it, only because for me, although I love to use like Pride Month, you know, to celebrate and whatnot, I also do I am also very open about the fact that I'm queer throughout the entire year. So although it's like, yes, this is Pride Month, for me, it just feels like, you know, like, I'm gonna do the same thing, except there's gonna be Pride events, so not the end of the world. I do really, really like, I'm very, very happy with the turnout this year, especially for me with, like, what I did, to give back to my queer community and to help with, like, everyone who, like, during Pride Month. I haven't actually been posting, like, I think the thing that I sort of didn't get a chance to do was to post a lot for, like, Pride Month, because although I celebrated Pride Month for myself and was very like, involved in a lot of like queer like celebrations and whatnot, even stating last podcast that I actually planned my own Pride event at school, I actually, unfortunately, with like posting and stuff, what I posted, I actually posted a lot more mental health things, only because with the situations that are going on around the world, and like just because like people essentially now on like social media, everything on my For You page is just everyone like stressing and being like, the world is going into chaos, with like a couple of those posts where it's like, humanity, like I've lost faith in humanity, really? And then it's like you slide it and it's like people have done good things for other people, which I don't think you should give up I don't think you should give up on humanity. Obviously there's going to be like those people that just like really upset you and you're like, I've lost faith in humanity, but at the same time, like, you've just got to remember that those group of people that are the vocal minorities that make you feel awful, let's say, I like to think that for one person who is sucky to me, there's like 10, maybe like 100 people that would be nice to me. Like, I'll be honest, the amount of people that like are nice to you will definitely be higher than the amount of people that are mean to you. And I think the reason why people refuse to believe that is because it's always that school environment where it's very difficult to believe that like, like everyone is against me and everyone's out for me and things like that. But it's just, I feel like school, for a lot of students, like, takes a toll on people's mental health in several ways. There's the schoolwork, you've got the bullying and like the harassment and stuff behind the scenes, because I'll be honest, it's not black and white when it comes to bullying at school. It is very much behind the scenes, and I feel like with social media and now it's making it a lot easier for like cyberbullying and stuff and that sort of like harassment, and it's getting worse as like we digress and stuff, because I feel like negative mental health, unfortunately, like negative mental health, negative like views on life and things like that spread a lot harder, like from person to person, like spread so much easier than like positive mental health. Like I feel like someone could be really like happy and whatnot, and it's so much harder for them to bounce their happiness onto other people. Yet with negative like mental health, it's like, it's sort of, now I am getting this from probably not the best like site, so don't like obviously take what I'm about to say with like a grain of salt, but I do believe that it is a lot easier to just spread negativity around with people than be able to like spread positivity. Because also with negative comments, it's like, oh, like, yeah, that's true, because I've seen people do that. Yet with positive, like if people like say positive stuff, you just go like la 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 la. There are a lot of people that refuse to take on like positive comments, positive things. People with like saying positive stuff, it's a lot harder for people to take it on. Yet if you say something negative, it's like suddenly like, oh yeah, so true. So true, so true. I've experienced that, so therefore it's so true. And when I say that, that doesn't mean everyone. That doesn't mean everyone does that, because like I know some people that are so positive that if you do that, like if we swap it around and someone says like negative stuff, that can't get through to them, and like they have such a like hard, like such a strong sort of like such a strong boundary and stuff with them and like negative thoughts, that when they hear it, it's like, that's not true. I know the truth, and I'm going to continue believing that positive truth. And I admire anyone like that. I admire people where it's like they don't let the negative thoughts get to them so easily. And of course we'll experience days where, we'll be feeling like upset, we'll be feeling down, we'll be feeling sad and whatnot. And like sometimes people will have like bad days, and that's completely okay, because we're human and emotions are there to be felt. They are not there to suppress the negative ones. And however, of course, you get support, you get help, and you seek attention, whether it's helplines or therapists, if you start to notice that this becomes a pattern. And can most likely be linked to depression. That's when you start to get health. And I think based on this like opening to the podcast, you can probably gather what the topic is, and it's mental health. I don't know if you guys gathered that, but like that's the topic for today. It is mental health. Yeah. So I want to, before I continue, I want to quickly let you guys know that everything that I will say comes from my therapist, but I myself am not a psychologist or a therapist. So you have to remember that I am not like, I do not have a degree in this sort of stuff. I am not like diagnosing you with anything. If I talk about any sort of like mental health issues or mental illnesses, if anything that I say resonates with you, you seek helplines, you seek psychologists. Don't be like, oh yeah, Nina on a Spotify told me this and I think now I have this. That's not how it works. Please do not think that is how it works. Just wanted to let you guys know that, and yeah, let's continue with the podcast. So I definitely do think that mental health is becoming a lot more of a rising concern, yet is still somehow seen as a taboo sort of subject. Or I'm noticing that a lot of people will be super open about mental health and being able to help people with like mental health and whatnot. But for some reason, they can't take those sort of like, you know, comments or help that they give to other people. They can't use that for themselves. They can't take that on and, you know, apply it to themselves, because there are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that are scared to come to the realization that they may need help in the form of like psychologist or even possibly a psychiatrist. And I just want to let you guys know that it is perfectly okay if you realize that you may need more help than simply just support from friends or family. You are not in any shape or form, you are not weak. If anything, if you realize that you essentially need help, you are actually stronger than what you what you think. To be able to come to the realization that you need help, to come to the realization that you yourself are like struggling and whatnot, and then you yourself get like, you know, support lines. A lot of the time things like Headspace, Kids, all those like Beyond Blue and stuff, you are able to go there by yourself and you can keep it confidential to your parents. So if you even need to like, you know, stealthily go to those like services and stuff, you can do so. They are more than like, they can keep it confidential. I think there is a certain age but where they need to like, where parents need to be involved in the situation. And of course, if you're experiencing things that could be like, you know, like life-threatening essentially, then it is important that you guys like aren't like that the parents get involved within this. So unfortunately, not absolutely everything can be confidential. A lot of it will be confidential where it's just between you and the and your therapist. However, if it can actually ultimately be life-threatening where they need someone at all times at home to keep an eye on you, then yes, they will need to get parents involved, and yes, they will have to make some things not confidential. And that's strictly those things, not anything else that you've said. So essentially, psychologists are very, very good, obviously, at their job because they are dealing with very like delicate topics in in mental health and things like that. Because essentially, what psychologists say can ultimately have a very, very severe impact on you. And I applaud all psychologists out there, especially the good ones. They're all good. That's the thing. Like, all psychologists are always helpful and good at their jobs. It's that usually when you first see a psychologist, you definitely need to think as though, is this person right for me? Because not every single psychologist out there is going to be right for you. Like, for example, for me, it took me a couple of psychologists to actually find the right one for me. The first one that I saw was at well, I won't get into too much detail, but the first psychologist that I had ever seen was a school counselor, and she was not the right one for me. She wasn't able to actually she wasn't able to actually get to the issue, to the actual issue that was causing me to think to sort of have these these issues and stuff, and would just be like, now pretend that you're floating in a lake or in an ocean, and all your thoughts just flow away. She basically, how I took it, especially because I was in year 9, very young, and I essentially took that as, so you basically want me to forget that I have issues, and that's obviously not what she was doing. I think that was just her way on trying to make it so that it's it feels as though maybe it doesn't have as much power on me. Maybe if I take myself to a nice, calming place, then I'll have a lot of it, then I'll have an easier time of being able to deal with my mental health issues. I definitely was a bit of a salty child and went you want me to forget about my issues? No, thank you, miss. And yeah, so wasn't good for me. Definitely is good if you need just that support on schoolwork and stuff like that. Counselors are very good at that, school counselors. But if you start going in there with very, very serious issues and stuff, sometimes school counselors might not be the best. My school counselor at my new school that I go to is actually quite insanely good, I'll be honest. She is with degrees and stuff, she actually has a degree within psychology. I don't know about the other school counselor that I had, but she is she's not she's either a school counselor or you can call her a psychologist, because she's that level. Yeah, and then I went to one of the outside of school facilities, and the first person that I had ever met that was from one of the big well-known places Beyond Blue, Headspace, and things like that. I looked at one of those people, and again, not exactly the right person for me. One of the things that helps me feel safe within with being able to open up to people is the tone of people's voices. If someone does not seem very soothing and calming, it makes me not want to open up, because I feel as though that they're getting that they're going to get angry at me, or they're going to feel a certain way if I say something and whatnot. So I like the people who have the very calm, very soft, very angelic tones and stuff. Now, I won't tell you who I went to afterwards, but I did end up finding a really good psychologist, and she was perfect for me. She could relate on a lot of levels with issues that I had, and for me, this doesn't always work for everyone, but for me, when a psychologist can relate to me on certain topics, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable to continue talking to that person. And I think you guys have definitely heard me say the word psychologist, and before I said the word psychiatrist, and you're probably thinking, what is the difference between those two if you don't know? I do not know the exact definition, but the easiest way to be able to digest the difference is a psychologist, deals with mental health and whatnot. Psychiatrists, yeah, psychologist. So psychiatrist does the same thing, but on top of that, psychiatrists can actually prescribe you medication. So antidepressants and stuff like that. For who I'm currently seeing, which is a psychologist, she's not qualified to give me any sort of medication and whatnot. And yeah, after talking, she said I didn't need medication. So coolio, because psychologists, if they suspect that you may actually need a medication to be able to just support you and whatnot, or to be able to help with certain issues that are beyond your control, that you're not in a position to be able to deal with, then they will actually send you to a psychiatrist, who will then be able to prescribe you something. That is the main difference that I can give. I feel that there may be more differences. I do not at the time know what they are. I just know that is the main difference. And if you know, feel free to if you know if there's more differences, feel free to let me know. Feel free to talk to others about it. But I know that psychiatrists, the main difference is psychiatrists are able to prescribe you stuff. Psychologists are not. They're mainly there for support, to be able to talk to you and to be able to work through your stuff. Psychiatrists do the same thing, but as an extension is able to prescribe you things. Yeah. So I think if you are struggling with sort of like with mental health issues, it is important that you go talk to a psychologist, which takes me to my next point. Now, this point may be a little bit bold. This point may, in your opinion, be an L take. But I think I really need to say this because it is something that is actually affecting people. Affecting people so visibly that it needs to be said. It needs to be said by someone on the internet. And or it just needs to be said, period. Not even on the internet, because I also say this out of the internet. My very honest opinion. Now, you may have heard this title that sometimes friends either give themselves or give each other. Now, I know when you're in friend groups, it's like, oh, I'm the sporty one. I'm the cute one. I'm the one that's not like other girls or other guys or other people. I'm not that person. Now, that's all fine and dandy. You can be the smart one of the group. You can be the bookworm of the group. However, do not call yourself the therapist friend of the group. Please, I am begging you. Now, you may be thinking, but I've experienced so much things. I'm quite wise in terms of being able to help people with their mental health. I know that, and that's absolutely amazing that you don't want to see other people struggle like that, so you want to help them. However, as friends, we are here to support, not replace psychologists' jobs. Keep in mind that psychologists have been through extensive studying and unis and stuff. Plus, they need to get a really high ATAR within the HSC and stuff. They have gone through massive amounts of effort to make sure that they are fit and able to be a psychologist. So there are many issues with calling yourself the therapist friend. The main one that I want to discuss is that by calling yourself the therapist friend, you are ultimately shutting yourself off being able to speak about your issues from everyone else. Because for some reason, when you call yourself the therapist friend, you have an obligation at all times to be okay and mentally stable, to be able to focus on other people's issues and stuff. And see, there's no problem with with giving support, and if there's conflict within the group and stuff like that, you try to help it, you try to work people through it. That's okay, and that's a normal part of friendship and whatnot. But there's a point where it starts to get a bit too much for yourself. I'm not saying this because your friends don't deserve you. I'm saying this because this will actually take a toll on your mental health in the form of you will feel so obligated to constantly be okay that when you are experiencing issues that would require you to be open about your friends, you can't bring yourself to do it because you're so you've basically see, I somehow yesterday forgot the word for it. It's trained yourself. You've somehow trained yourself essentially to be okay so that you are there for other people. And now you can't be there for yourself and you can't be able to open up to these people because, they're expecting you to be okay so that they can talk, to you. And it is okay to be the wise friend of the group. It's okay to be the friend that people go to. And heck, if you're studying psychology and people are like, oh, you're a psychologist, can you possibly help me with this and stuff? At least you're getting the information and stuff. And a lot of the time, people who are studying psychology actually say, just a heads up, I am not a fully qualified psychologist, so I may not be able to give the best result. Or I am not able to deal with all the issues yet, or be your psychologist because I have not even graduated myself from psychology. However, therapist friends put that job on them, and they don't even you're just, a lot of the times I feel with therapist friends, it's always school or like younger ages and stuff like that. Like, not when I say younger ages, it doesn't have to be like 12 or something. Like, that's really young to call yourself a therapist friend. But like, I have a friend who is a therapist, like who has established herself as a therapist friend. And when I heard that from her, I was like, no, honey, don't say that, because you're essentially letting everyone know, yo, if you've got issues, come to me and me only. And then, yeah, and like, and then, because a lot of the time with a therapist friend, again, I'm going to be repeating this, but like, you essentially feel so obligated to make sure that others are okay that you sometimes just drive yourself into absolute burnout, into absolute mental, like health issues, essentially, like sometimes even mental illnesses. Like, you start to like suffer from extreme like depression and anxiety and whatnot. And it's just like, you don't, especially if you're not in a mentally safe place yourself, there is no need to put that like obligation on yourself to be the therapist friend. You can be there to support friends, but you've got to understand your boundaries and realize that as a human being, you sometimes aren't able to hold everyone's issues as well as yourself. Like, you can even see with my content with mental health, I don't basically go like, I'm here to fix everyone's problems, put your like issues in the comment section and I will be your therapist. And like, that's not, unless therapists actually go onto social media to give like really good advice and stuff like that. Like, as someone who is simply just trying to share her knowledge and experiences through going to therapy, I am essentially stating that I am not a psychologist, I am not a therapist, I'm not your therapist, but I want to just spread some love and spread some things that may be able to help you along the way in your life. I am not declaring anything. I am not claiming to be your psychologist, and I feel like you shouldn't be able to claim yourself as a psychologist for your friends. And if there is a friend actually claiming you as the therapist, build your boundaries, build your walls, tell them that you are not obligated for their you are not responsible for their mental health. If they have issues, the best thing to do when someone actually is struggling really badly with mental health issues, bring them to someone like a responsible adult. Even suggest, hey, like, do you want to call up like a helpline? Are you considering like therapy, psychology sessions, or anything like that? You do not take that responsibility to be their therapist, because you are putting your own mental health at risk. And remember that everyone has to, everyone has to be sane. You can't give up your mental health to help your friend's mental health. And although, like, as blunt and sad as that sounds, you've got to remember that you are also human. You cannot always be there to be the hero and fix their mental health. Sometimes fights, sometimes issues, sometimes mental health thinking is out of your control, and the best that you can do is simply just support them and take them to someone who is more capable of being able to, help within those circumstances. And not to say that you can't talk about your mental health issues. Remember that this is a very delicate topic where it's like, there are just so many branches where it's like, but not to do. Mental health is just a very I don't know if organic is the right word, but there's just so many directions that mental health can go, that this, obviously listening to all of the mental health videos that you've seen, sometimes even those may not be able to work and stuff. So you've just got to be mindful of that and just try your best when trying to support someone. Yeah. And I think that's my main issue that I have with the therapist friend. I know that I have another point where it actually takes away, it discourages people from going to see psychologists, seeing qualified psychologists and therapists, because then they get too reliant on being able to talk to you, which once again feeds into it affects your mental health. But if someone is in need of seeing a psychologist or a therapist, please do not promise them to be that psychologist or therapist. Please encourage them to actually go see those people, because therapists know exactly what to say, what to do. They know how to delicately dance around terms. Sometimes if you're just a friend who is trying to help out, you may accidentally say something that is not in the best interest of them and could potentially make an issue worse. And yeah, we kind of don't want that happening. So yes, I think be a very sweet and supportive friend, but do not be that friend that just takes on the responsibility of a therapist. That I just really wanted to say that. That's been on the back of my mind, and especially hearing my friends say that, I needed to say that somewhere. For your guys' information, please do not call yourself the therapist friend. Thank you. Now, I know that, like, I think the hardest thing with, like mental health and things like that is being able to find things that, like, specifically resonates with you and being able to help with your mental health, because a lot of people sometimes will, like, when they're trying to get help and support and things like that, and people are like, oh, I know what to do, like, try this or try that, and sometimes you don't necessarily, like, you have to find something with being able to, like, release that stress and things like that. Like, you need to be able to find your own way to release those emotions and be able to bring yourself back to that, like, sort of, like, I'm doing good line or I'm doing fine line, because you can be fine, you can be good. It's bad, but if you're constantly being sad or upset. My therapist actually told me that there is a scale. So you've got, like, your happy to sad scale and things like that, and in psychology, that's usually the scale that you want to work with. You can either feel, like, extremely happy, you can feel in the middle where you're just doing, like, you know, you're doing fine, you're doing okay, and then you've got your I'm doing terribly bad, like, scale. However, sometimes you can drift off that scale and enter the emotion of anger, which then results in a lot of, like, you know, people with anger management problems, people who sort of can't control their anger. And what I've been told to work with is to try, when I'm feeling a strong sense of anger, try and kind of bring myself back down into that little scale between the happy and sad scale. Because I'll be honest, I used to struggle with anger myself. I would get angry over everything. I would stress and then get angry because I was very bad at being able to release my emotions. I would bottle it up, and yeah. Because I've been told that actually anger can a lot of the time resonate from you not being able to express within the happy to sad, within the happy to sad spectrum. And what happens is you, like, as you bottle it up and it becomes worse, you drift off that spectrum, enter, like, anger, and then you somehow reach the top, and then anger management issues, like, arise and things like that. That's what my therapist told me. So she said to kind of try and release it within the happy to sad spectrum. Not to say that feeling anger or feeling pissed or whatever is not a good emotion. You are more, like, if someone makes you upset and someone makes you angry over something that they've said, you are more than okay to, you know, like, let out that frustration and let out that anger. However, you've got to be able to do it in a healthy way. Like, something that I found that works for me is if I'm struggling with either, like, sadness or anger or frustration, the first thing that I actually do is I cry. I think that crying is actually an extremely healthy emotion. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a man. I don't care if you're non-binary. I don't care if you're, like, non-gender confirming. I don't care. Cry. Crying is one of the most healthy and natural ways to relieve emotion. Not crying is what causes that bottle up of emotions within yourself. So if you need to cry, just cry. Like, it's just such a good way to release stuff, and it's such a good way to feel, like, just better. When I find that stuff are getting, like, really intense for me, if I find that I'm not maybe having the best day, I let myself cry. And I'm very lucky when I, like, experience these sort of, like, days at school that, like, home is very, like, close to me, because then what I do is I just, like, I run home, I cry, I let it all out, and then I just, like, you know, I pamper myself just for, like, until I need to go back, and then I go back, and then that's it. Like, I just think that it's so important to be able to focus on your mental health, and if you need to let out emotions, crying is one of the most effective ways to let those emotions out. And I think
by letting yourself cry, you're doing yourself such a huge favor by like just releasing those emotions. Because the problem is that when you cry, like, I know that you may be thinking, but like, oh, but like people like think I'm like weird and stuff like that. Well, I'll be honest. I think getting a couple of looks being like, oh my God, like, why is she crying? Why is he crying? That's so weird of them. I think that just getting a couple of weird looks is a lot better than allowing it to build up, turn into anger, and then the potential of either hurting yourself or hurting someone. That's a lot of the time what happens with anger, unfortunately. It needs to be released in some sort of like harmful way, even if it's just like an object and things like that. And I think that's like, at least with crying, you don't hurt anyone in that sense. Crying is a very good thing. I also recommend journaling if you can. Journaling is such a helpful way to be able to put your thoughts onto paper. Sometimes I might not be able to articulate my thoughts into words because maybe I'm just feeling super overwhelmed. So what I do, especially with my friend on Discord, which I haven't done in a while, I only did it with her once and I like missed that. A friend come back to me. We actually intensely scribble, or at least I do, and I just talk to her while I'm scribbling and my hand's getting tired. But yeah, I scribble all over the paper, and it's actually in my journal too. Like I have pages where I've just like essentially like haven't been able to finish like a journal entry because I just started like scribbling, and there's some pages where it's just a full page of scribbling. Maybe I'm really excited that I just need to get that like happy jitters out, or maybe I'm so anxious that my head is just clouded with so much negativity, so I just gotta like release that frustration or release that anger or even release that sadness. And scribbling is such a good way to help with that. And even like journal entries too. I am someone who can rationalize thoughts and rationalize feelings if I just essentially write an internal monologue. And it's really ironic because I filmed this after getting an English result back, to which they told me I used too much dialogue and monologue. And I'm literally not even saying that like that's bad, like, you know, that's bad results, because I think that's pretty useful to me. Because what I realize is within my creative writing, my strength is actually script writing, and that makes total sense that I've accidentally pretty much submitted a recount / monologue to a craft of writing unit. So, and I think that's quite important to remember. Sorry, no, it's not that important. I mean, I script write, that's okay. The journal is what you're meant to be like, is what's meant to be important. I think being able to journal like your thoughts and things like that is quite important. And on that topic, actually, another thing that I use for therapy, which you may not know, because I haven't really been like open about this, but I also actually write, not good, but I do also write music with these sort of like feelings that I have, and I like to make little funny melodies for it. Sometimes they're not good, because ever since I was younger, I've always wanted to do music writing. I remember the first time I ever found out who Lady Gaga was, I was like, I want to be just like her. And then I have like so many like people that I follow on social media, and they started from content creating and now they're making music, and it's like, that's pretty sick. I want to do that one day. So yes, I also put my thoughts and my feelings into like songs and whatnot, and if they have potential to be something so much more, or I feel like other people can resonate with it, who knows, maybe I might release something. But like, I don't know, for now I'm pretty chill just sitting on a chair and just literally word vomiting into a mic. But as someone who doesn't get very good results in English, that's actually a lie. I've been doing, other than this like craft of writing unit, I've actually been doing pretty well in writing. Even my last craft of writing unit I did pretty well in. It's just this one because I accidentally essentially submitted a monologue because my strong point is script writing. As you know, I am in the process of making a movie, so of course script writing is going to be what I'm mainly doing. I script write and I'm doing the animations, and we've got other people doing all the other stuff, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, you didn't ask. But yeah, and I think finding those like things that really resonates and helps me with my mental health is really good. I really like doing this because I love myself. I love looking in a mirror and just saying affirmation messages. And I think if you don't know where to start in being able to like help with your mental health, or like be able to sort of improve on it, or like your self-confidence is quite low, always start by looking into the mirror and just saying compliments to yourself, just saying really nice things. You don't even need to necessarily sit there being vain. You don't need to like sit there going like, I'm the best person in the world, I'm the reincarnation of God, I am this, I am that. Or you can say that, I don't really care, as long as that's making you feel better. But I think there is sort of like, you need to build your self-confidence without accidentally becoming someone who is too full of themselves. Again, mental health can be a very delicate situation where I finally was able to get myself out of like the low times where I basically felt as worthless as a speck of dust. And then there was a time in my life where I went too far on the spectrum and went all the way to the other side, where I accidentally just completely thought I was the reincarnation of God. And then I had to bring myself back. So I'd like to think now that I'm level-headed, there are sometimes like days where I accidentally bring myself to one side of the spectrum. Either I feel too good for for the world's own good, or I feel like a speck of dust and feel as though I just like, But I think what's important at least is being able to just remember that you are worth something in this world, and try and bring yourself back to the center. And if you notice that you're starting to go towards like too far on one end of the spectrum, just try and bring yourself back down to the surface, and just like bring yourself back down to the ground, bring yourself back to reality, and just essentially remember that you have a worth in this life. You are worth something. You are just as important as everyone else in this world, but you are also no one is above or below you. Essentially everyone is on the same playing field, even like people who like the president okay, that's actually a really bad example, I'm going to stop there. But yeah, like humans are humans. We are all on the same like playing field. Sometimes people are trusted with more power than others, but you've also just got to remember that they are simply just human, and you can't let that power or authority that you have been given for a particular reason, let that get to your head. That's probably a better way of saying it. Yeah. Something else that I've also actually started doing, which has helped with not only my mental health, but just random people's like, just making them feel like, oh yay, is I've actually just started giving compliments to people. Like I'll be like maybe walking home, I'll be walking to my local like shopping center or whatever, and I'll see someone who maybe looks really nice that day. Maybe they have really cute boots on, a really nice shirt. Maybe their outfit looks so casual but cute that I'm like, oh my god, I love that style. Maybe like there was one night where I was going back from my friend's house, and these two girls looked absolutely gorgeous. Like they were obviously going out to like a dinner or something. Like they were dressed all like fancy and stuff. And like they basically, like I just gave them a compliment because, like they looked beautiful. They looked gorgeous, and they felt so like, and just feeling that happiness arise from them when you when you give someone a compliment, just seeing them so like, oh my god, like you didn't need to say that, but thank you so much. Especially to a stranger who like you don't know what they were feeling. And I feel like just giving compliments to strangers, of course, pick them wisely, because I'm not saying completely ignore the fact that sometimes strangers can be dangerous, but like I do a lot of the time, I like demographic that I go and give a compliment to is like they are clearly the same age as me or maybe slightly older. Actually on that story with the girls that I saw that like at that nighttime, I had actually complimented them, and it was one of the girls' birthdays. She was holding like a birthday cake, and I like, as a joke, I was like, sorry, I didn't know it was your birthday, I would have got you presents. And she was like, no, the compliment was all I needed. And like, see how just sometimes just saying a compliment, whether it's like a very small one, like, oh, your hair looks really nice today, or oh, you look so cute today, or like, has anyone ever told you that you have like such beautiful eyes, or your sense of style is like really cute? It helps people so much, especially in a day and age where we are taught to basically trust no one and fear everyone. A lot of people may be able to resonate with that. Some people will be like, oh, my parents have just said like, live your life the best that you can. I definitely have a parent who has constantly told me to trust no one and to only trust them. And I feel like that's wrong because that's how you accidentally train a child to have like
that's how you accidentally train someone to basically have trust issues. And I used to have trust issues myself, but I think that it's kind of a sucky thing to basically tell a child that everyone is out for them and everyone is out to steal from them, to hurt them, to, do stuff that, like, doesn't benefit the child in any sort of way, when there are actually some really good people out there. So, like, yeah, like, I've been told to basically fear all strangers are bad strangers, but you know what? If someone looks nice and I go up to them and I compliment their outfit and their first response is to basically, like, be like, you shouldn't have, that's so sweet, then, like, I'm gonna do it. Because also, fun fact, if you didn't know this, complimenting someone can actually boost your, like, confidence and stuff as well, and like your confidence and your mental health, because first of all, like, seeing someone satisfied with something that you've done for them or something that you've said to them helps you in a way, because it's like, oh, like, I'm so happy that I'm able to, like, make someone happy and whatnot, or like, oh, like, I'm so happy that, like, they're feeling good. And then, like, because, again, bouncing that positivity around, like, there is a way to do it. Even though at the beginning of this podcast I said that it's easier to spread negativity, which might I add, saying that, it doesn't mean that you can't say your problems at all. You are still fully are okay to talk to people about your problems if you are suffering or if you have any sort of, like, issues that you are experiencing. But it's also, like, it's harder but possible to be able to spread that positivity as well, because, like, especially if it comes from a total stranger where they didn't need to say it, but, like, you said it anyway, like, that boosts the confidence and the, like, like, the, oh my god, that's so sweet of you, even more. And, like, especially being an adult myself, I am fully capable if someone turns around and goes like, oh, like, who you're talking to, and then I just respond going like, bye-bye. Like, I'm not like a tiny child, but, like, even then, when children come up to you and go like, you look pretty, like, I love compliments from strangers, and I love giving compliments to strangers. And saying this on the podcast doesn't mean that I'm, like, saying this for, like, clout, to be like, guys, I'm so kind. I'm saying this because the compliments are always genuine, but I want you guys to know that if you see someone who's looking pretty nice, like, they have something on that you absolutely adore, their hair is nice, feel free to just go say, hi, I just want to let you know that you look quite nice today. Or, like, you don't need to basically, essentially, say comments that are the equivalent of catcalling. You don't need to do that, because obviously that'll make them uncomfortable, especially if you're complimenting if you're complimenting someone of, like, I don't know, like, someone, I don't know, like, someone where it's, like, they're, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but, like, yeah, it can just be, like, something as simple as, you look nice today, I like your outfit, like, I like your boots and things like that, and even being like, oh, where'd you get it from? Like, I asked the girls who were wearing, like, the really nice dresses, where'd you get the dress from? One of them didn't know, that's okay, they still looked gorgeous, and I'm hunting down that dress. Yeah, and I think it's just, like, with mental health, yes, it can take, like, extreme sort of, like, time, like, it takes extreme sort of things to be able to, like, help with mental health. Like, sometimes people unfortunately need to even go into a psychiatric ward or a mental hospital to be able to just kind of, like, be okay and be able to like, help themselves and feel safe and even find a will to, like, and, like, the reason to keep on living. And unfortunately, like, if you are experiencing those sort of difficult, like, emotions, it's very, very important that you do, if you need to, go to those sort of psychiatric wards. And I know that sometimes on social media they can be seen as, like, a joke or something to laugh about. I think those places save lives every day, and if you need it, you go and get it, no questions asked. Don't be like, oh, but then I might be taking up space. You deserve it just as much as someone else who is, like, suffering from this sort of stuff. Please just go get it. And but even small things like complimenting someone or saying someone looks nice, that can even just help boost someone's, like, happiness for the day. For all I know, someone maybe that I was, like, talking to, like,
one of the people that I complimented, maybe they had such an awful like morning. Like maybe they left the house with someone being like, oh, you look god awful and things like that. Or like maybe they got into a fight with someone, they were feeling bad. And then the stranger just came up to them and said, you look lovely. Or like, you look very like cute today. And like, sometimes those small comments just help. Before I finish this podcast, because I actually silenced the alarm that I was meant to listen to leave, I want you guys to know that in July, I believe it's July of this year, there is the Heart Project. And if you don't know what that is, if you are someone who's like, who wants to sort of be open about their mental health like issues and be able to be like, hey, I have gone through this and I have like survived this, because as we know, there are some certain like mental illnesses that can actually be unfortunately like lethal or deadly or can kill. There is something called the Heart Project, where basically you, for the week that the project goes on for, you put either on your forearm, I believe it is, or you can put it on the other side of your arm, whichever arm feels more comfortable. You, there are heart colors that correspond to certain like mental illnesses. So things like if you suffered from an eating disorder or self-harm and things like that, you can draw that little heart on it, and it lets people know that like, hey, I have experienced this thing and maybe I'm still healing from it, maybe I have healed from it, maybe I haven't relapsed like on anything and whatnot. If you are comfortable participating in that, it is something that is very helpful to be able to try and open up and make it more well known, to be able to be open and talk about your like mental health and things like that, for those who fear stigmas and whatnot. So it tries to break the idea of stigma and be able to feel more confident being open about mental health illnesses, mental health like issues and whatnot. If you are not comfortable in doing so, spread around the information about the Heart Project. I know I am planning to participate in it, and I'll probably make a TikTok being like, guys, do the Heart Project. So if you see that and you want to participate in it, feel free to, feel open to. If you are in a situation where that might be considered dangerous, I would suggest possibly don't. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Like, I hope you all have a lovely day. I can't see what you're wearing, but I think you look beautiful and cute and adorable. And if you're in your pajamas, you are amazing. And I love your PJs. They look very comfortable. And if you are like watching this, or if you're listening / watching this while you're getting dressed and I've accidentally caught you while you're pretty much naked, your body is beautiful just the way it is. And I like, yeah, love your body, love yourself with and without clothes. And like, you are perfect just the way you are, and you do not need to change yourself for anyone, for anything, despite any external factors. You are perfect just the way you are. Keep loving yourself. I love you so much, and thank you for talking with the stars today. And Spirit has made me very open about this, because Spirit is my emotional support and plushie, an animal that I bring with me to places if I feel as though I need support, but I can't bring myself to be open about it. I bring Spirit either in my bag, or sometimes I hold on to him, and like sometimes I even like tape him or attach him to like my shoulders and things like that. So I'm like a Pokemon trainer when like Ash carries Pikachu around. For me, it's me and Spirit. Spirit is my favorite, and we are planning to get matching frog hats, so yay. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I do want to link in the description any sort of services that can help if you are experiencing any sort of issues that is beyond something that you can handle. Don't be afraid to be open to don't be afraid to seek help. Please, if you are experiencing anything, please go talk to someone. Please find the support that you need. I am so sorry that I had to cut this short. There was so much that I love to say about mental health. If you want to see any more content around mental health, my TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, also not as up to date as the other two, like TikTok and YouTube. So do go to either TikTok or YouTube to find that sort of to find any sort of like extra content that you can see, where I give you guys like things that my therapist has told me that I think can like possibly resonate with other people, or just like sometimes me being like, hey, has anyone told you that you're cute today? Because you are cute. You're very cute. And like, if no one's told you that today, I'll be the one to tell you.
yeah,
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. The stars were beautiful. The stars were shining. One of them did a little dance for me and it was beautiful. Spirit ate one of the stars, but it's okay because I love Spirit either way. Anyway, have a good day. Bye guys.